na lockdown na Kano. To dalilin da yasa aka yi haka, Lagos ta yi sati 5 tana lockdown. Kano ta yi sati 2 ne yanzu wanda federal government ta sa. Kafin lokacin hukumar jiha ta sa nata abubuwa na kokarin yadda za ta maganta wannan batun ciwon coronavirus din nan. Amma na federal government yanzu an kara sati 2 ne don a tabbatar ma'aikatu da testing da neman mutanen da suka hadu da waɗanda suka kamu da cutar nan an yi shi a cikin wannan lokaci. Mun sani akan cewa yanzu lokacin azumi ne kuma an kai kusan karshen azumi, za a shiga batun sallah. Muna roka mutanen Kano su yi hakuri. Wannan abubuwan nan da aka sa din nan ba don a tozata masu bane, an sa don kyautata mutanen Kano ne, a tabbatar kuma an rage waɗanda za su kamu da waɗannan cututtuka. Ina roko a wannan lokaci a samu wannan fahimta, kuma a hakuri da gwamnati, kuma a ba gwamnati goyon baya, don wannan cutan in ba mutum yana haɗuwa da mutum ba, bayan da za ka kamu da wannan cutan. A wannan lokaci kuma don mun bari kawai ana yawo ana haɗuwa, cutar za ta daɗa yaduwa. Kuma an ga irin mutuwan da aka ta yi a Kano a kwanakin bayan da ya wuce, wanda ma ba a san dalilin da ya sa mutanen nan suka mutu ba. Yanzu ne muke kokari mu tabbatar corona ne ko wani cututtuka ne, don mu tabbatar akan cewa duk abin da za a yi an tallafa wa mutanen Kano. Na tabbatar kuma mutanen Kano za su samu fahimta wannan, su ba gwamnati goyon baya. I will conclude my remarks by the fact that we must appreciate the difficulty of arriving at the present decision. I've gone into elaborate explanation of how we arrived at the decision of extending the ease of the lockdown. It's not the lockdown. We have not imposed any new protocols. We are just extending the phase 1. Why? Because in spite of the modest success of the phase 1, we think we cannot release other components to come into phase 2, because we need to deal with certain fundamentals, knowing now that the seeding of the infection has gone beyond what you think in terms of areas. It has gone to the community level. We need to ensure that we have in place in the communities certain infrastructure that will begin to deal with these infections as they have now gone into the community level. So there are so many things that we need to put in place. The second segment, which is the phase 2, even the industries, the kind of enterprises, the kind of businesses that will be opened up. In the coming days, guidelines will be issued as to what they need to put in place before we get to opening the phase 2. So there are so many processes that we have to put in place. And I always am conscious of the fact that we must acknowledge where we are in terms of our medical infrastructure, that we do not allow ourselves to be overwhelmed. So we must take every step in a deliberate and calculated manner to ensure that whatever we do, we can have some openings to either accommodate, be able to take on what might befall us. Coronavirus is unpredictable. It has its nature, it's disruptive, and it has come to ravage our health and our wealth. And we need to do everything collectively as a nation to ensure that we accommodate the national response in such a manner that we will be able to give our people succor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of today's national briefing. There was a question on education, that's the NECO exam. The information from the Minister of State is that parents should please await government's announcement. There is no approval yet for the NECO exams to hold. When that approval comes, it will be made public. We must once again thank all our partners, the media especially, for taking this right to the homes and offices of Nigerians, and for all those that have stood by us all through. We say a very big thank you, especially also the health workers, the armed forces, the security agents, and what have you. We say thank you to everybody. But there are messages coming out of this briefing. The first is that the 2 weeks extension of phase 1 of the East restriction is also to enable all the segments of the economy prepare adequately for compliance with the guidelines preparatory to opening in the coming weeks. For the PTF, we share your pains, but our future is in the hands of every Nigerian, and future decisions will depend greatly on our compliance. The second message is an appeal. We wish to appeal to all Nigerians to show understanding, demonstrate patriotism, and take responsibility. Humanity is in great peril, and we are all in danger. Most importantly, we repeat our call on Nigerians to please stay home if you have to, and stay safe. God bless Nigeria. We hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us on Nationwide today. I'm Ruth Aguele. We're live in Abuja. Welcome. President Muhammadu Buhari has made a strong representation to the state governors to work more closely with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 towards engendering better harmony in the task of containing the prevailing health crisis. Now, this was at a virtual meeting with the members of the Nigerian Governors Forum on the state of the nation. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has that report.
The virtual interactive session between President Muhammadu Buhari and governors of the Federation was the first amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. President Buhari presided over the meeting from the Executive Council chambers in the State House. With him were the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, his new Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Ministers of Justice, Finance, Budget and National Planning, as well as the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Members of the Nigeria Governors Forum, led by the Governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, joined the online meeting from their respective states, deliberating on the fight against coronavirus, especially the next steps in national response to the pandemic. President Buhari harped on the need for the governors to collaborate more effectively with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 towards containing the health challenge. COVID-19, he emphasized, is beyond technology, power, and resources, saying even countries that had all those are recording highest casualties around the world. He said everyone needs not only to be very careful, but continue to educate and persuade the people to accept the reality of the situation and do all that is necessary to stay safe. The meeting, held behind closed doors and lasted about 1 hour, also discussed, amongst others, economic and security issues. The governors commended the president on the leadership and direction he has given the country in combating COVID-19. They used the forum to congratulate the Nigerian leader for appointing Ibrahim Gambari as his new chief of staff, describing the appointee as a round peg in a round hole. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 just ended its daily briefing. Let's join our correspondent now, Kenneth Inanim, to bring us highlight of today's briefing. Kenneth.
Hello, Ruth. Good afternoon. Yes, the Presidential Task Force has met today and reviewed the lockdown. First of all, they had to assess the lockdown, first of all, and now gave a new directive that the lockdown will continue for another 2 weeks. Then within the 2 weeks, it will be the same process. The current easing of process will also be maintained with, making sure that people maintain social distancing, washing of hands regularly, as wearing face masks. The PTF also mentioned that the lockdown in Kano State will also continue for another 2 weeks. And also, the PTF also made us to understand that there was a meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and the Governors Forum, where they emphasized that there should be strict restriction of interstate movement because the governors in their various states believe that the infection rate they're having in their states is as a result of interstate movement. So they believe that there should be actually maintained.
All right, thank you, Kenneth Nanim there, giving us an update on what just played out at the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Let's bring you latest update on COVID-19. Nigeria has recorded the highest figure of the daily infections record of coronavirus on Sunday with 338 new cases. Lagos leads with highest number of 177, followed by Kano, which has 64, while the FCT is having 21 cases. Others are Rivers 16, Plateau 14, Oyo 11, Katsina 9, Jigawa and Kaduna 4 each, Abia, Bauchi and Borno 3 each. Akwa Ibom, Gombe and Delta have 2 each, Ondo, Kebbi and Sokoto 1 each. Nigeria has 5,959 cases as at 11 p.m. Sunday, 17th May 2020. 1,594 cases have recovered, while 182 have died of the virus. The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology says it has received submissions of claims from many individuals, organizations and institutions that they can either cure or better manage COVID-19 using indigenous herbs and natural products. Now, this follows an earlier charge by the ministry to Nigerian scientists on getting a home-based solution to the coronavirus disease, which was tagged with a reward of 36 million naira. Minister of Science and Technology, however, makes it clear that these submissions coming with bright chances and encouraging results will still have to undergo further verifications before making them available to the nation.
Our intention is to bring in the Nigerian Academy of Science to assess all these claims. And once they are assessed and recommendations are made to the ministry, then the ministry will now present this to the nation and assist all those that have been so recommended to ensure that the necessary processes that are needed to move from that level to now producing drugs, will be done.
The determination and interest of the ministry on the matter, he said, is to make sure that homegrown solutions to COVID-19 are found to discourage reliance on other nations to solve the problem. Let's look at more issues arising from COVID-19. Joining me in the studio is Chief of Medical Services, Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Gideon Bako, to speak on protection and safety of troops against COVID-19. Well, we know that the role of security personnel in the protection of the nation cannot be overemphasized, hence the need for them to be hale and hearty. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What can you tell us so far has the Nigerian Air Force put in place in safeguarding personnel, in the front line, even as they go about their daily operations on security matters, in protecting them from COVID-19?
Okay, thank you very much. Since the COVID-19 pandemic break out, the Nigerian Air Force has always lived to its expectation as fulfilling one of its constitutional roles as mandated by the federal government of Nigeria. What we did immediately, we got information about the COVID-19 pandemic. We made our search and we armed ourselves with the relevant information, which we disseminated to all our troops in the front line, starting from the barrack to the people who are fighting. We had made IEC material in form of posters, handbills, which we distributed to everybody and in every formation. If you go to our bases, our formation, you will see the posters, the handbills, they are all there, flyers, for everybody to pick and read and get the information that is needed to fight COVID-19. Not only that, we also organize lectures, awareness campaign around our bases, even our troops. We gather them together to give them tidbits on what COVID-19 is all about and how to go about preventing it. That we did and we are still doing. We also continue to do the necessary things like physical distancing, which we also reiterate to the troops. We also provided face masks to them. If you see our troops, the way they are kitted, more especially those in the front line, they already have face masks. We also made available face masks for them to use whenever they are outside, whenever they remove their kits. That is to say, if they are in mufti, how they should appear. That we did. We installed hand washing points in all our formations. We had these hand washing points initially during the Ebola period. So all we did was to just expand these hand washing points. We provided sanitizers. At a particular time, getting sanitizers was quite difficult, even in
for
shops.
Everybody.
Yes.
Cars, yeah.
So what we did was we looked inward and we told our pharmacists in our hospitals, together with our public health physicians, they came up together and sat down and we started producing our own hand sanitizers. It was just basically for own troops. Nobody outside the Air Force gets this as a maybe complimentary.
Okay,
if you
that's
visit
quite impressive, I must say. But what other contributions have the Nigerian Air Force made in supporting government's efforts in the fight against COVID-19, like maybe support from your medical personnel?
Okay, thank you very much for that. When the COVID-19 pandemic started, if we recall, there was a total ban of flights, both coming into Nigeria and within Nigerian airspace. The Nigerian Air Force lived up to its expectations by providing airlift material of both medical and non-medical for personnel of NCDC and federal government, as it is being requested by the higher authority from the Nigerian Air Force. The Nigerian Air Force has flown over 300 hours in support of these noble ventures, which the federal government has asked the Nigerian Air Force to do. And that we are still continuing up till now. These 300 hours is up to, say, about the 16th of this month. So from yesterday and today, we are still doing it. So we are flying more hours to ensure that relief material personnel who are needed in critical areas are taken there. We have also continued to train our own medical personnel in terms of infection prevention and control and case management.
Are you talking about the C-130 aircraft?
Yes, the C-130 aircraft also. We also had a training of our flight nurses. We trained about 12 flight nurses. We are now training about 20 more flight nurses, where the C-130 aircraft could be rolled into an air ambulance, where we could take up to about 96 patients if need be. We have also done that.
Thank you very much, Air Commodore Gideon Bako. That's the much we can take, but we must commend your efforts. Keep up the good work, and we'll continue to pray for our frontline troops.
Thank you very much.
All right. In the wake of recommendations by the Ministerial Task Force on COVID-19, Sokoto State Government is evolving strategic plans in partnership with the federal government and other technical partners to curb the spread of the pandemic. Now, this came to the fore when the Ministerial Task Force paid an assessment visit to Sokoto State. Let's hear from Delhatu Abdullahi.
The visit of the Ministerial Task Force is in line with the directives of the Federal Ministry of Health over concerns on the unexplained death in the state. The team, which worked with the State Task Force on COVID-19 to visit some health facilities and cemeteries, was also at the government house to brief the governor on their mission. They observed that the state government has an excellent work plan which needs to be transformed, acknowledging the testing and holding capacity, mass use of face masks, and possession of a fleet of ambulances for rapid response purposes. The team, however, advised that adequate accommodation be provided for the doctors and nurses taking care of COVID-19 patients to avoid risks of taking the virus to their families after treating the patients.
They need a strategic plan that has to be holistic, longer term, and more ambitious, because there are several changing phases of the epidemic, and we are willing and available to support the state to finalize this.
Governor Aminu Waziri Tambol told the visiting health experts that the state government has been actively working with the relevant stakeholders to tackle the spread of the pandemic.
We shall continue to do all of those things and enforce all those measures that have given us these very, very encouraging results, both the short-term, the medium-term measures.
A formal report is expected to emanate from the Federal Ministry of Health on the visit. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
We're heading to Lagos right now to join Jennifer to find out what the situation is like in Lagos for more reports on Nationwide. Jennifer.
Thank you, Ruth. Now, boosting the immune system is important, especially now that the number of coronavirus patients is on the increase in Nigeria. In this report, Hingino John Adams tells us how people are naturally boosting their immune systems.
The world is no doubt in a state of uncertainty. The ravaging COVID-19 is hitting hard on countries. Governments are urging people to stay at home or use face masks if they must go out, as well as observe social distancing and personal hygiene. All these are to contain the virus. Another important thing in the fight against coronavirus is the state of people's immune systems. Research reveals that a strong immune system gives advantage of defeating the virus.
Proteins are the bedrock, they are the building blocks of all antibodies in our body system. Now, another key nutrient in helping to improve or helping to make the immune system function properly is the vitamins and the minerals. These vitamins are cogent ingredients in helping these antibodies to be formed. It is best to get these vitamins and minerals from our food, because the ones we get from our food are usually more absorbable and more available for the body to make use of.
Sleeping for 7 to 8 hours each night is also a good tip for naturally boosting the immune system.
I take my time to go to the gym, hit the gym. I take a lot of fruits.
Medical experts say going on low carb and increasing vegetables, fruits, and water intake improve the immune system. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
and to security, a non-governmental organization, Bethesda Home for the Blind, has emphasized the need for more attention on people with disability this COVID-19 era. The call was made when an imposter impersonating as a task force officer forcefully entered the premises late at night. Imole Ayotokede has details.
COVID-19 presents risks for many living with disabilities around the world. Hence, the need to protect them and their rights during the pandemic. Against this background, Bethesda Home for the Blind in Lagos have put in place stringent measures that include restrictions of interaction between the blind students and the public. It was therefore shocking when an intruder who claims to be a member of the Man-O-War was caught in the school's premises.
On that Friday we come out, we are praying around 11 o'clock. Somebody knock with Okada. He said she opened the gate. I said, who are you? He said it's a task force from Alausa. He said she opened the gate. I said, no, I can't open the gate by that time. He dressed like a military person. So he now went. Later, like 5 minutes again, we are praying. The next thing we see, somebody jump inside at that gate there.
The police public relations officer stated that the suspect was not authorized to be anywhere near the institution. He also violated the partial lockdown curfew.
What was he doing there? Was he actually on patrol? Even if he's supporting the police, was he with the police at that time? Was he on patrol? And the answer is no. We also arraigned him in the mobile court.
Bethesda Home for the Blind is a refuge place for disabled orphans. The director of the school emphasized that there is need to strengthen security in order to protect the special students and others with disabilities. In Lagos, Imole Ayotokede, NTA News.
Thank you, Molayo. We have more on Nationwide, but after the break, stay with us.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
COVID-19, looking inward for alternative medicine, is the focus this week on NTA Tuesday Live. What are the potential in Nigeria for alternative medicine? What are the global best practices on issues of COVID-19? Tune in at 10:30 p.m. for answers and more on NTA Tuesday Live. Don't miss it.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus. Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
As a strong
weak immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19. A corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for staying tuned. On Monday, May 4th, 2020, exactly 2 weeks today, the federal government began the gradual easing of the total lockdown, which was part of measures to curtail the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. Doing India takes a look at the impact of government's response on the economy and the citizenry in the last 2 weeks.
Coronavirus, a name which is now on the lips of many, both old and young.
Coronavirus.
Some of us, by staying home, we are automatically losing our jobs.